Plants vs. Zombies. It's the classic tower defense game where you use sentient plants to defend your lawn against zombies. Once you spawn in a plant, it instantly gets to work. But what if the process wasn't this simple? What if you actually had to adopt every plant from birth and raise it before using it? Which ones would be the best to adopt, and which ones would be the worst? Well, today I'm going to answer that by ranking every plant based on how adoptable they are. To do this, I'm going to take a look at their almanac entries and in-game mechanics, to which I'll then decide how easy or hard the plant would be to adopt and raise, with S tier being the easiest and F tier being the hardest. I think you get the point by now, so let's just get right into it. Starting off with the big three, we got pea shooter, sunflower, and walnut. I genuinely can't see anything wrong with these guys. I don't know what it is about them, but I just can't imagine having any problems with them. I'm gonna give them all an S tier. Next up, we have Potato Mine. Just like the previous three, I feel like you wouldn't have a hard time raising this guy. His almanac entry says that he's a bit lazy and leaves everything to the last minute, but I kinda do the same, so I'm gonna give him a pass on this one. Now with all that said, I'd probably give him a B tier, but there's one very important detail I forgot to mention. His in-game mechanic is blowing up when he gets stepped on, and I don't know about you, but I don't want to adopt a plant that can potentially blow up at any moment. For these reasons, I'm going to put him in the D tier. After that, we got Cherry Bomb, and oh, wrong one. Alright, so you remember how I just put Potato Mine in D tier because I said I didn't want to adopt a plant that could potentially explode at any moment? Well, Cherry Bomb is exactly that, except worse because they have a bigger blast radius. Oh, and also, these guys want to blow up. Just take a look at their almanac entry. They've literally argued about which method of blowing up they'd rather use. F tier. Alright, moving on to a more chill plant, we have Snow Pea. Personally, I feel like it'd be pretty cool to adopt a Snow Pea. I don't know what it is, but there's just something about him that seems so cold. Okay, I'll stop now. From what I see, Snow Pea seems really similar to the regular pea shooter, except for the fact that he's, cold. He might require a little bit more maintenance because of this, but I don't really think this hinders him too much, so I'm gonna put him in A tier. Next is Repeater. According to the almanac, Repeater comes from the streets and doesn't take attitude from anyone. But after digging a little deeper, it also says that he secretly yearns for love. I could definitely imagine Repeater causing you some trouble from time to time, but I don't think he deserves any lower than a B tier. So that's where he's gonna go. This is a Chomper. I just want to say that if I was raising one of these fellas, the first thing I would do is teach it to brush its teeth, because I'm not trying to have this thing walk around with stinky breath. Anyways, I don't have much to say other than that. Just teach him not to bite people and you should be good. B tier. Next up, we have all these plants that are on screen right now. I'm grouping them together because they all have one thing in common. They're nighttime plants. And one thing that all the nighttime plants have in common is that they all sleep during the day. So if you're planning to adopt one of these plants, you have to completely change your sleep schedule to sleep during the day and be awake during the night in order to raise it. Alternatively, you can just feed them coffee beans to keep them awake during the day, but that would probably get really expensive. And it also doesn't seem very healthy to deprive these plants of their sleep. This alone automatically puts every one of these plants at a D tier for me. Now I know there are people that have the same sleep schedule as these plants, but I'm not one of them, so yeah, D tier for all of these guys. Anyways, you may have noticed that I left out 3 of the nighttime plants, and that's because I believe that these remaining plants all belong in F tier. Starting with Scaredy Shroom, I just don't like him. He seems annoying. F tier. Magnet Shroom. I hate putting him this low on the list, but he just has a very unfortunate feature that makes him dangerous to be around. So you know how his magnetic force is strong enough to rip helmets and buckets off the heads of zombies? Just imagine what would happen if someone with piercings got near him. Doom Shroom. I feel like the name itself is already pretty threatening, but if that's not enough to deter you from wanting to adopt it, Doom Shroom can blow up. And I'm not talking about little explosions like the Cherry Bomb and Potato Mine, I'm talking about blowing up an entire lawn explosions. And according to its almanac entry, it claims it can blow up a lot more than just a lawn. F tier. Okay, let's move on to the pool plants now, starting with Lily Pad and Tangle Kelp. They both can't go into land and can only live in the water. That already sounds pretty inconvenient since you would need to own a pool or lake to adopt them. But I guess if you own one of these, it wouldn't be too difficult to raise them, so B tier for Lily Pad and C tier for Tangle Kelp because he has spikes. Squash. At first he seems a little grumpy, but after reading his almanac entry, he just seems like a motivated guy who wants to help out with fighting the zombies. A tier. Next is Threepeater. I like the pea shooter by himself, but when you add 2 more heads to him, I start to like him a little less. And that's because a pea shooter with 3 heads would most certainly be harder to raise than a pea shooter with only 1 head. But despite what I just said, the Threepeater and its 3 heads seem like chill guys, so they'll go in the B tier. Jalapeno. Remember how I didn't like Potato Mine, Cherry Bomb, and Doom Shroom because of their dangerous ability of being able to explode? Well, Jalapeno also has a dangerous ability, and that ability is being able to start a massive fire. You know what else is massive? Spikeweed. You gotta be really careful that you don't accidentally step on him, because if you do, yeah, that's not gonna end well. That's the only bad thing I see about him though, so as long as you don't do that, you should be good. B tier. Torchwood. He looks a little grumpy and is also a fire hazard since he's always on fire, but if you're able to deal with those two things, then I think you've got yourself a C tier plant. Tallnut. This guy shares a lot of similarities with Walnut. The only difference I see between them is that Tallnut is taller. But since Tallnut is larger in size, he would probably require more maintenance than the average Walnut. You also wouldn't be able to roll him like a bowling ball, so that deserves an A tier. This is Sea Shroom, a plant that can't go into land and has to stay in the water. That by itself is manageable, but Sea Shroom decided that he also wanted to sleep during the day. You guys already know how I feel about the nighttime plants, so when you combine one of those with a pool plant, it's a one-way ticket to the F tier. Okay, we're gonna do a speed ranking now because I don't have much to say about these next few plants. Planturn, he can make light, that's cool I guess. I don't see anything wrong with him. A tier. Cactus. She has spikes on her which could be a little dangerous, but I think it's pretty easy to not get hurt by her. B tier. Blover. Nothing wrong with him, just teach him not to abuse his ability to blow strong wind. A tier. Split pea. Basically the same as 3-peater except there's only 2 heads and they're in different positions. B tier. Starfruit. He has 4 cavities and only 1 tooth. Imagine how unhealthy the rest of his mouth is. This also sounds inconvenient and expensive to take care of. D tier. Pumpkin. You can place him over other plants and he doesn't seem to mind, so I imagine he's pretty good at socializing. A tier. Flower pot is literally just a flower pot who is also a plant. I mean, all you have to do is not break it, so S tier I guess? Alright, speed ranking over, back to normal rankings. Next up we have Cabbage Pult, Kernel Pult, and Melon Pult. I'm ranking them together because according to Kernel Pult's almanac entry, these 3 are brothers. Plus, they already seemed really similar. But just like the big 3, I can't find anything bad to say about them. So I'm also gonna give these guys an S tier. Coffee Bean, an energetic little fella who would definitely cause some trouble. I mean, just take a look at him, he definitely has some mischievous plans on his mind. I'ma be honest, I also feel like he would be a little annoying to be around. For these reasons, he's going in the C tier. Garlic. This guy has an aura to him, and not the good kind, I'm talking about the stinky green cloud type of aura. After taking a look at his face, he also kinda looks like a goofball. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but paired up with this stinky green cloud aura levels him to around a C tier. Umbrella Leaf. He's just a chill guy who's enthusiastic about what he does. Take a look at his almanac entry and you'll see exactly what I mean. If you ever need him to shield you from the sun or the rain or zombies attacking from the sky, he's got you covered. A tier. Marigold. She's a flower that occasionally produces gold and silver coins. And there's no catch to this. As soon as she produces a coin, it's yours to keep. Actually, now that I think about it, there is kind of a catch because of, taxes. But you could also just get good at money laundering. Then it wouldn't be a problem anymore. S tier. Alright, that's the end of my list. I know I am missing the upgrade plants, but to be honest, I wouldn't really count these guys since they need their original plant in order to exist. But I made a Google slideshow of all of the upgrade plants in case you want to know my opinion on them. While I'm scrolling through these slides, I'm going to take this as an opportunity to plug my socials. I have an Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, so I'd really appreciate it if you could follow those. Anyways, that's all I have to say, so I hope you have a great rest of your day. See ya!